Hello, sixth graders and your families. We are excited to present to you today how to do your seventh grade course requests. And hopefully you remember me, Mrs. McKinney, and I'm here to help with you, as well as I know you remember Mrs. Healy.
Hi, everyone.
So we're going to walk you through this step by step. Don't worry, we will be able to do this virtually. So welcome to seventh grade course request session. We have a lot of important announcements to share with you. There are a lot of differences between sixth and seventh grade that Mrs. Healy is going to talk more about. So we ask that you watch this video before you start working in Skyward. We are asking you to vote on your favorite electives, and through this course selection, we're asking that you choose things that look exciting to you so that we know what to offer for next year. Right now, we're not choosing hours that you would have class or teachers that you would have in class. We are just merely voting for what classes you would like to be in for next year. Regarding math is you are going to be placed in your appropriate math class by one of us who's going to work on each student's individual schedule. So if you see something there that doesn't look right to you, please know that we are taking care of that math selection. What you will see when you log in is that all of your core classes are available for you already, and that we are taking care of that for you to ease one step of this process. When you sign up for your year-long classes that are electives, please do those first. Those include Spanish and your music classes, because that will help you calculate how many electives that you need total. So Mrs. Healy is going to start going over some common student schedules, and we really ask that you find one that looks familiar to you, that you want to follow, and that will best help you learn to schedule.
All right, so in front of you, what you are looking at is a year-long example of what you might be taking each trimester. So we have not put in your core classes. This is just strictly your electives. So if you look to the far left, the first square that you see, this is an example of a student that is taking band in Spanish next year in seventh grade. So I want to point something out to you as well, because a lot of sixth graders don't realize that your electives happen to be in the middle of the day. It's kind of like a sandwich. So you've got your core classes first and second hour, and then you go into lunch between second and third hour. And then after lunch, you're going to head to your elective classes, which are third and fourth hour. And towards the end of the day, you will go back to your core classes, which are fifth and sixth hour. You do get a snack in fifth hour. I know that lunch is early. We call it brunch jokingly at the middle school, but you know what? Your little tummies are ready for that. You guys come zipping around the corner and you're hot to get to the cafeteria, and watch out, because our stomachs just get trained for that. So it all works out. So if you look at this example student, this student is going to be in band in Spanish. You can see how that plays out throughout the year. Classes in red are ones that are required for seventh grade. So just PE, 2 PE classes along with health, and the rest is up to you as far as what you want to pursue. You can see that this student would have 3 more electives to choose outside of band, Spanish, and the PE requirements. The next slide is very similar to band, only this is an orchestra student. Again, orchestra Spanish throughout the year. It's a year-long class when you sign up for both of those. We ask you to make a year-long commitment to them. PE, health and PE still follow as required classes. And then our last slide for music, music example rather, would be for choir and Spanish. So you can see what that looks like. Very, very similar to band and orchestra. And this next example is a student that has decided to continue in Spanish, but not music. So if you look, same time as middle of the day that you take your electives here, Spanish runs throughout the year, but it does offer this student a couple more electives each term. And then you can see the classes in red for PE and health. This last slide is for a student that is not going to continue with their Spanish and music. It's very rare, but I did want to put it up here so that people could see what that might look like. So we've got our PE and health requirements in there, and then they're going to be choosing 3 more electives per term for a total of 9 non-required electives. Don't worry about those numbers. We'll help you out there with credit counting and all that as we move on through this presentation.
Okay, so before you begin requesting any classes, please take a moment and read about the elective classes that are offered in 7th grade. There are more choices for you. These can be found in the middle school course description booklet under district links. And once you are in the middle school course description booklet under 7th grade electives, pay close attention to any bolded parts of the course description. And now this is how you're going to navigate to find that. Mrs. Healy?
All right, so once you're into Skyward, you guys are used to going in there and checking your grades. You want to check on the left that schedule option, and you can see in the upper right hand corner, we've got, thank you, we've got the course description link is found under the district link. So you're going to have to click on that to get to that course description book. And I remember when I first learned about a course description book, I didn't really know what it was, and it really all it is, it's a list of all the classes that we offer, and there's an explanation about the classes that we offer. So a lot of kids try to figure out electives based on the title, and Mrs. McKinney and I really encourage you to take that time and look at the course description book and see what the classes are about, because you will be committing to them for at least a term, sometimes longer.
And I know Mr. Dykehouse has also sent a link to the middle school course description guide that is available for you in his letter.
Great. All right, so once you click on district links, you'll see that drop down and you'll see something that says MS course descriptions. That's exactly what you're going to click on.
Now, these are a few things to consider as you're making your decisions. Spanish. Although Spanish is not required, we really encourage you to remember that if you completed K through 6 Spanish and then 7th and 8th grade Spanish, you can earn 2 high school credits. It is in a majority of our students' best interest to remain in Spanish. Again, however, it's not required. If a student does not take 7th grade Spanish, you can't revert back and take 8th grade Spanish. Again, as Mrs. Healy mentioned earlier, what you would be doing is then taking Spanish from the beginning, starting in the 9th grade. Second, music. Music is not required in the 7th grade. However, a majority of our students do really love their music classes, and they decide to remain in music. If a student chooses music, please remember, just like in 6th grade, in 7th grade, it is a year-long commitment. And finally, as we've spoken about several times, PE, health, and PE are required courses in 7th grade. So now it's time to vote on your electives, and Mrs. Healy is going to talk to us about how you're going to go through the steps of voting on your electives.
All right, so you're going to basically click on schedule, and I'll have some upcoming slides to show you. You're going to look for something at the top that says view requests for 2021 and for middle school, and make sure that you are viewing classes under the tab titled request courses. And again, if you are taking music and or Spanish, choose them first before choosing remaining elective classes. Why we have you do that is because they are higher credits, and you're going to chew up more of your credit requirements first by choosing those. So it's just easier to start with them instead of having to take elective classes off. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So the next step is to start choosing your main electives, and you're going to be watching a credit counter to reach 18. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to click on schedule first, and there's that title towards the top I was talking about, the request courses for 2021 in middle school. That's where you're going to click second. And then you can see on the left, yep, there's that total credits. In fact, Mrs. McKinney, if you can bring your mouse back there, cursor,
Yes.
That's what everyone should be starting with, is 13.5 credits. We have preloaded classes for you. And you can see that if you look at the right-hand column. Right-hand column under selected courses, this is the work that the school has already done for you. We've put in English and math and science and social studies. We've put in those 2 required PEs and the health class. So everyone should be starting at 13.5 credits. And then if you look at the left-hand column, there's a big long list of classes that you can choose from, and you can use that sliding bar to scroll up and down and look at stuff. And when you're ready, we can start choosing some main electives. So you want to get it in your head that you're doing main electives first. These are your primary choices, the things you really, really, really want. It's always hard for students when we talk about main electives and alternates, but we always are going to do our main electives first. That tells the computer that's what we really, really want. So if you can see on the left, this student has chosen band, and you'd click on that highlighted area, and wow, you're good, Mrs. McKinney, and it's going to slide right over there to the right column. That's exactly how it happens too. It just appears.
Yep.
The one thing that you do have to do, Mrs. McKinney, is click on Add Course. So if you look at the top,
right here,
there's that button. Yep, that's where you're going to click second. So
great.
that's that simple, you guys. One click on the class and then Add Course. If you make a mistake, you see that little tab right below there. It says Remove Course. So if you're like, oh, I didn't mean to grab band, I meant to grab orchestra, then you would hit Remove Course, and then that class would disappear.
Great. And then they'll notice up here in the top, once they put band in, because band's a year-long class, their total credits have gone up to 15.
Yep, it jumped from 13.5 to 15.
Okay.
Hey, look at that.
We anticipated what we were going to do.
Nice
Great.
segue. All right. So,
Now,
oh, sorry. Yep. So what I did, and I'm not going to take you through all the different slides, is I kept adding elective classes over and over again until I got to the credit count of 18. That's the magic number. You're going to hear us say that number quite a few times, but we want you to get to 18 before you go and choose your alternates. So make sure that you pay attention to that credit counter. When it hits 18, you're done. In fact, Skyward won't even let you add more classes. You'll get a little pop-up at the bottom of your screen, and it'll be in red letters, and it'll say something like, you know, you can't add any more classes because you've reached your limit. So the next thing you want to do is choose your alternate classes, and that's another tab, and I'll show you where that is in a second. You just want to click on that, and remember, when you click on the Request Alternates class that you're choosing, you're going to see a number 1 that shows up next to the class, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. All that means is that you are telling Skyward that that is your number 1 backup. So that's the class that you'd like to be put in case you do not get your main requests. Remember, we talked about 2 things, your main requests and your alternates. We have to have you choose some alternates just in case we can't give you your main requests. We do our best, but sometimes we have to go into our alternates to choose some more. If you change your mind about your rankings, there are little arrow up and down buttons that you can press, and that will bump that class up, or it will bump that class down, and that will change the number that's ranked next to it. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. The goal here is, sorry?
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, and the goal here is to choose 8 alternates. And I want to really point out number 5 here, where it says do not choose any music classes or Spanish classes as an alternate. And why you don't want to do that is because it's nothing against those classes, but Skyward knows to give those classes a priority. Students will always get those classes that choose music or Spanish. So let's say that you chose not to continue with your music, but you listed it as your 8th alternate even, your 8th ranked alternate. Skyward will give you that music class because it's weighted more heavily, and you'll get it. So I always tell students, never, ever, ever put Spanish or music classes as an alternate, because you will get them, and it will bump out something that you really wanted.
The other thing to think about, and one thing we had a few questions with, is you cannot rank your original electives that you choose. The only ones that you can rank are your alternatives. So don't think that you're missing arrows on the previous screen. Those arrows are only available on the alternates tab.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So Mrs. McKinney, again, what she's saying is you're not going to see ranking numbers by your main choices. We know that those are your main choices because that's under the main request tab. Alternates are the only ones that are ranked. Students do get that confused when I'm doing guidance lessons. They'll say, Mrs. Healy, how do I rank my main choices? And I just want to say it again, you cannot rank your main choices. You can only rank your
alternates.
That's it.
All right, here we go.
Right. Here we go. So look up on the top of the screen that's circled in red. You can see there's that Request Alternates tab. That's the tab that you're going to click on to start choosing up your backup classes.
Great. So there we go.
And oh, you know what? If you go back to that slide,
Sure.
sorry. So at the top where it says total alternates 0, that's also something else you can keep an eye on. Thank you, Mrs. McKinney. That area
Yeah.
right there is where you're going to be watching to get to that number of 8. So you're watching your total alternates, and we're trying to get that number to 8.
Great.
All right.
All right.
So here's the first alternate that we've chosen, and it looks like it's a pottery class, and I clicked on it on the left, and you can see it. Add course, good job, pops over to the right, and there it is. And look at that, there's a number 1 by it. So if you can look at,
Oops, I'm sorry.
that's okay. So there's also another number 1 that's by the code of the class, and it's in that red circle, right there. Oh, good job. So right there is what we're paying attention to when we're trying to figure out, like, what did I rank that class? So pottery in this case is ranked as my number 1 backup class. How many more classes do we have to choose, Mrs. McKinney?
7.
7 more for a grand total of 8. So we're going to continue choosing alternates, and I'm not going to put you through all that where you watch me choose each class and add it on, but I will show you what a completed job looks like. And if you can see all those different arrows, the up and down arrows, and again, my number 1 ranked class is still pottery. The class that I want the least in this case is an innovation lab class. But if I decided I wanted to change my printmaking class, which is listed as number 6, all I would have to do is click on that up arrow, and that would keep moving it up and up and up and up and up. And so it's kind of fun to play around with those. But again, we've got 8 alternates and 18 credits.
Okay, right. So when you're done selecting all your main electives and your alternates, Skyward will automatically save your work. There is no submit button or save button to click on.
Yep, and if you get interrupted while you're choosing your classes and you have to turn off your computer or walk away, it should save for you. I've never had an issue with that not saving. So I want to double check your work. Make sure you've got 18 credits under your main electives and core classes. How many alternates, Mrs. McKinney?
8.
8 alternates. Now, I want to quick say something. Some of you may not get to 8, especially if you're someone that's not doing music and Spanish. It's harder to get to those 8 alternates. If you're one of those students and you need to stop at 6 alternates simply because you've run out of classes to take, and remember, we don't want you to take Spanish or music because you'll get them. For those students that are not doing a Spanish or music, it's okay to stop at a number a little bit less than 8. The rest of you guys, you want to get to 8 because if you don't choose 8, the computer will choose for you. And I don't think you want Skyward picking out your classes.
All right, so now we're to some frequently asked questions, Mrs. Healy. So what are the required 7th grade electives?
I'm hoping that you students in the out there are answering this question because we've said it a couple of times, but it's PE. There's only 3 required electives for 7th grade, and those are 3 PE classes, one of which is a health class, and we've put those in for you so you don't forget. Great.
So Spanish is not required in 7th grade?
No, it's not required. However, we strongly encourage you to take Spanish. 98% of our students continue taking Spanish, and why do they do it, Mrs. McKinney?
Because they get high school credit, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, and
that's a big deal.
You know, Mrs. McKinney, this might be a good time for you to, I'll put you on the spot.
Sure.
You recently transferred from the high school to the middle school. Yeah. And so you've been around those students and you've seen all the different electives that they have to offer, right? So if a student completed their Spanish, I don't want to say requirement, but if they completed their Spanish classes now, what would that mean for them in the high school? What would they be able to do?
That means 2 things. That means that you wouldn't have to take Spanish every day for an hour. And 2, that opens up your world to a lot more electives. If you feel like there's lots of electives in the middle school, there are probably 2 times the number of electives in the high school. So if there's anything to encourage you to keep going in Spanish, this is a wonderful way for you to open up your high school schedule.
Thank you.
All right, so what if I want the elective links? What should I do, Mrs. Healy?
You know, we didn't talk about that links class, but hopefully you guys read about it in the course description book. It is one of our popular classes, most popular classes. It's supporting Mrs. Fouch and some other teachers with students that are in special education. So I encourage you, if you like that kind of thing, to read more about that. But there's going to be a Links Connect Google form that shows up in Mr. Dykehouse's letter. And so I'd encourage you to do a good job filling out that application, because we have far more applicants that applied than we do have students that can take that class.
Yes. And you know what, Mrs. Healy, I feel so confident after listening to us during this time is I think I can ask and answer this next question. I forgot, how many credits do I need to sign up for? 18 credits, and I need 8 alternatives. So
Yep.
what if I don't like some of the alternatives? Do I really have to choose them?
Well, Mrs. McKinney, you know what happens if you don't choose 8 alternates? What's going to happen?
The Skyward, the computer system, is just going to choose for you. And there is very little movement in the schedule or in your student schedule once Skyward has made choices for you. So you might want to pick something that that looks the best to you and that looks the least restricting to you. So just choose one and move forward. So Mrs. Healy, can I put Spanish or music class as an alternative even if I don't want them?
No, I would not do that, because if you put those as an alternate, you will get them. Remember what I said about Skyward weighting those classes more heavily? You'll definitely get a Spanish or a music class if you put them as an alternate. So please do not put those as an alternate.
Great. Okay. Is there a way to rank my main electives similar to how we rank our alternatives?
No, there's not. They already know, like Skyward already recognizes those requests as your preferred choices. And I'm not sure why the program's written that way, but it just knows that that's what you really, really want.
Oh, this is a next question is a great one, Mrs. Healy. If my friend and I choose the exact same electives and alternatives, does that mean that we'll be in the same classes together?
Not necessarily, because remember, we've got those classes offered all different hours and terms. And so you could have a perfectly matched schedule with your friend and not end up in any of the classes with your friend. And the real injustice to that would be, you know, you're choosing classes that maybe your friend wants to choose and not that you necessarily would choose if it was your first choice. And the other thing that I've noticed over the years of working at the middle school is when you choose classes that you like, you actually have an opportunity to meet some new people in there. A lot of students make friends based on being in classes where they don't have a friend. It kind of forces them to look to the left and look to the right and start up a conversation. So we do have new friendships that are formed in classes where we don't have our friends in them.
That's a really good point. So just a few more questions. I can't find study skills or math lab listed as a course on Skyward.
Yep, if you're a student that was in study skills or math lab as a 6th grader, you're not going to have the option to choose that class on Skyward. You won't even see it on there, and that sometimes confuses kids that are in those classes, but that's something that we'll take care of over the summer, where we hand place you in those. And if you're not in those classes and you feel like you need to be or you need to talk to somebody about that, then Mrs. McKinney is the person that you would contact and have a discussion about what it entails to get into the classes and what the requirements are.
Absolutely. Be happy to talk with you about it. If I do not choose any alternate electives, does that mean I'll automatically get all of my main electives? Ooh, that's tricky.
Yep. So I've got some students that try to outsmart the system, and they think if they leave the alternates at 0 and they never choose anything, that they'll automatically force Skyward to choose the main electives that they wanted. I like that kind of line of thinking. You're thinking strategically. However, it's not going to work out that way. Skyward will just choose electives, alternates for you.
What if I can't find 8 alternates that I like? Can I just choose 5 instead of 8?
Nope, we really want you to get to 8 unless you're one of those students that does not have Spanish or a music. Then we would give you permission to stop a little bit early simply because you've run out of choices. Those are the only kids that should be stopping at less than 8.
Great. All right. I think these are our last 2, right?
Getting close.
How long do I have to complete course requests? I need more time to think, or I need to talk to my parents or guardian.
Yep, so you've got a whole week. This is going to start on Monday the 18th, and the window is going to close on Friday, May 22nd in the afternoon.
You know, I'm not taking any music or Spanish classes. I've used up all of my elective choice and alternates. Can I just stop at 4 alternates if I can't get to 8 alternates?
Yep, and I know we've talked about this a lot, right? In your probably thinking, really, they have to ask this again or tell us about this again? And yes, for those people that are not taking music or Spanish, it's okay to stop at a lesser number than 8 for your alternate selection.
Great. Oh, we have a few more. We always have lots of questions in 6th grade. I don't see the math class listed that I'm supposed to take next year. I see one that I already took. Now what?
Yep, no worries. We just put a generic math class in there for everybody, but your math classes will be hand selected and picked out for you, and you'll be in the correct math class for the following 7th grade year.
Now, what if I feel like I've done a lot of work in math and I'm taking the math placement test? What if I test into the next level of math?
So that's something that would happen when we come back to school, and you may have set that up already by emailing Mrs. Kostanek or the principal to request to have your name put on the list, but you can do that. And if you were to test into the higher level math, then we would change your schedule for you once we got your results back.
Great. Oh, this is an important question if I were them. When is lunch?
Yep, like we talked about earlier, it's between 2nd and 3rd hour, usually around 10:15. We jokingly call it brunch because it's a combination of breakfast and lunch. But again, reminder, you can bring a healthy snack to your 5th hour class each day. And the teachers are really great about supporting that as long as you clean up after yourself.
Great. Ooh, we're finished?
Yes. All right, so if you guys have questions, I encourage you to email me. There's my email. No question's a bad question. If you're confused about something, not sure how it works, I will be watching my email all day long and trying to help you with that. So go ahead and shoot me an email and let me know what you're thinking.
All right. It was great to talk with you guys.
Bye, everybody. Have fun.